Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of Agritech Founders Diary. Here we interview Agritech founders who are doing amazing stuff across the globe. They get to share their stories, their challenges, lessons they've learned while they were building their company. And today is not different at all. I know it's been a while we do this, but today is not different at all as we are having a special guest joining us all the way from Nigeria. It's not that person than the MD of Pasture Nigeria. Today he's going to be sharing with us how they built Pasture, how they've been able to, how they're using their organization to change the game in terms of food distributions and storage in Africa. They are really doing amazing stuff, and that's why today we've been graced the privilege to host Mr. Oladamola Suarez. So first of all, Mr. Oladamola, welcome to the studio. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Awesome, awesome. It's good to be able to finally do this after all of the
Yes,
busy schedules and all the barriers. But it's good to be here. Thank you.
it's good. It's finally good to have Mr. Oladamola Suarez. I mean, he was my pastor, and not just that. I've followed his work in terms of the agricultural space. He have done a lot of amazing stuff in the agricultural space, and so I said I need to have him. It took me a lot of time to be able to get him on stage, scheduling. But finally, we were able to do this. But without wasting time, sir, I want to ask the first questions. I've seen what you are doing with pasture. First of all, tell us about pasture. So people, people generally will understand what you do with pasture. What's pasture about? Tell us about. Give us a rundown of what pasture is.
Okay, thank you. So Pastures is a leading fresh produce supply chain company in Nigeria. So when we say fresh produce supply chain company in Nigeria, so basically do aggregation. So we work with farmers in both from the rural and for also some high-end farmers who also have greenhouses. We're focused on fresh produce, so we do aggregation of all of the different fresh produce from tomato, pepper, cabbage, carrot, green pepper, and all of that. We also do transportation of these goods in an effective, efficient, safe way. And we also do warehousing, whereby we partner with all of our different partners to create cold storage for or climate control storage for all of these produce. And then we do distribution also to the businesses that we serve. So we are a we do distribution to food businesses, to restaurant and food chain, both restaurants with national presence across the country. We primarily serve businesses currently in Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and Ibadan as well, ensuring that we're able to support them or partner with them to meet all of their fresh produce, vegetable needs to serve their customers. So that's what Pastures is basically we do. Also,
That,
just to also mention that we try to ensure that we integrate all of our, you know, um, you know, uh, the first thing is the process, then also integrating supply chain management technology solution from sourcing, like I mentioned, to monitoring goods in transit, to ensuring that we're able to create a climate controlled storage and distribution as well for these goods as we can, and ensuring that all of the produce are able to be delivered to our customers, in a safe way. One of the things we've also noticed that, because these produce are very delicate, so and it's also been discovered that goods go bad most in transit. Over 30 to 40% of fresh produce get going to post harvest waste while in transit, and we're just trying to manage and break this gap as we continue to increase value for both the farmers who supply us and also our customers who are the end users.
great. So, but what motivated the creation of Pastor Nigeria, and how did you guys identify these critical issues in the food distribution and storage space that you're trying to solve?
Okay, so I've been opportune to 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 be in the farm or within the agri
Yes.
space or agri sector. Yeah, for over a decade. Over a decade. And from farming to processing, I've been within the palm, the palm value chain. Um, I've been within the plantain value chain. I've been within the cassava value chain. Even the cashew nut and different produce. So I've been experiencing the different product value chain and discovering that I did a post sometime in some time ago on my LinkedIn. I said primary farming really it's not the yeah, I know, okay, we need to improve on our farming methods around in the country, Nigeria and Africa as a whole. But I think there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of inputs being put in in the farming process, but little value being gained. For instance, if we're losing over 50% of our produce to post-harvest waste. So the question is that should we try to secure even that which you are producing first, or should we continue to produce more? But
True.
you see a lot of
Hmm.
people, so you see that distribution, storage, and the entire supply chain process is where critical value is being lost, is where there is a huge challenge within the agricultural space. It still remains a major challenge, especially for the fresh produce. Trillions of naira converted to billions of dollars is being lost in post harvest waste, just because we are not able to create appropriate, efficient, and optimized ways and processes of transporting, of storing, of distributing, of proper handling of this fresh produce along the value chain. So it's a whole ball game.
So
It's a whole challenge in itself. We've not even so I'm not even talking about the challenge of farm, of the kind of produce and all of
yeah.
those kind of things. That's a different discourse on its own. But the supply chain itself, if we can solve this challenge, then we can be able to create value and improve value both for the farmers, and also increase value as well for the end consumer. Because for whatever produce that is being delivered at whatever rate as it were, every of the cost from production to delivery will be factored in. And you also see a lot of multiple layers of distribution and all that along the way. And we're just trying to see how can we improve value for both the customers and also increase value for the producers, the farmers
so
as well, able to bridge that
so
gap. Yeah.
what motivated you to start Pasture? For you guys to venture into Pasture, yeah. What was the motivating
Yes,
factor?
like I was also saying earlier, is the problem of solving the supply chain, the transportation, the distribution, and the storage problem in an efficient way. In an efficient way. Also trying to see how can we also structure this market. The agri space, or the distribution space in within the agri space in Nigeria is a very unstructured market as it were. Though you have a lot of players and all that within this space, but this space is very quite unstructured. And even in so we do a lot of partnership, a lot of collaborators, even with existing players, because we believe that is a system, is an ecosystem that can that it's big enough to even serve, while we come in to create that level of structure and organization and coordination within that space, and be able to create an efficient system of doing things. And yeah, we have quite a number of people who are doing every part. Oh, in supply chain, people are doing all manner of other produce, but we have decided to niche ourselves or edge ourselves out and focus more. 90% of our dealings are around fresh produce for the now, and be able to find how can we effectively and efficiently be able to create value within this system.
Hmm. Okay, let me ask, what is storage? You've described is a critical factor in maintaining food quality? What innovative technology or practice has Pasture implemented to ensure fresh produce remain on top condition from farm to consumers?
Okay, so the first thing first is in the basic way is handling. You know, how are produce handled? How are they being transported? How are they being moved from one place to another? You know, for instance, the condition or the so we look for best practice materials to convey and transport our produce through. That's number one. Number two also is that while we are also building our own system, we also partner with transport systems or organizations that are able to provide or serve us with both as are when needed, climate controlled transport system. Another thing again we are also embedding is the ability to be able to monitor. For instance, when we are also moving our own goods in our own transport system, be able to monitor, you know, per time, the conditions of the goods as well. In our system as well, some of the project we're also looking at in the nearest future is to be able to see how can we integrate IoT, Internet of Things, into our system, whereby we're able to monitor all of the trucks that move our goods, monitoring the climate conditions of the vehicles, ensuring we monitor, the movement of the vehicles, and when they get to the warehouse as well, creating, climate controlled, storage facilities and systems, for all of this produce. While we work with resources available now and maximize whatever
Yes.
resource we have now, we're also building along all of these lines and working directly with the farmers that we have. We also, something else again that we also do is also educating farmers as well on species, on produce that because it's also very important for you to be able to extend the shelf life of product, what species or what seedlings give you that opportunity for longer shelf life of product, and all of that. So we do a lot of education, even in handling as well, in storage, in packaging, in transportation. So another thing again is that we're also driving data driven decisions as well. We serve some businesses that have national presence, and we're able to also understand their demands, their weekly, monthly, daily demands based on our data analytic systems that we use to, and we're able to predict their needs, and we're able to also give informations to the farmers as well to help them plan, working with them to plan production to ensure that our end users, there is no downtime. There is the issue of seasonality too for this produce, so it's also very important for you to be able to plan effectively to see that you're able to serve your end consumers with the appropriate produce, whether it's in season or out of season. They should have products needed. That's why we're there. That's one of the problems you have to solve for them, and not make sure that they don't have any downtime for products needed.
Great. But let me ask quickly. You guys have built Pasture Nigeria for like 3 years now, or 4 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 3 years.
How would that 3 years now? Okay, fantastic. And I've seen one of the key things I really want you to explain to us is I've seen how you guys build Pasture in Port Harcourt. I knew when Pasture started in Port Harcourt, and I'm seeing the transformation. I mean, a lot of people could be listening like Pasture. I've seen Pasture going from when it started to now moving from Port Harcourt to Lagos, from Lagos to Abuja, right?
Abuja and
And
Ibadan.
Abuja and Ibadan now. So that means in space of 3 years, with the economy of the country, like with the state of the country, um, what did you guys do in Pasture to be able to scale in this economy of we all know how the economy is right now in Nigeria. How are you able to scale from Nigeria to Lagos to Abuja, now to Ibadan, even in this heat, even in this hot
Okay.
economy? Yes. What did you do?
Yeah, and also to also mention that we've been able to also do some of these major movements, also bootstrapping from within. And I in one of my first is that one of the challenge that one of my mentors, who also happens to be one of our angel investors and support for the
Investors.
business,
Yes.
mentioned to me one time. You say, don't there are a lot of businesses out there that make a lot of noise without motion, without you
Hmm.
guys you need
No,
to
let's
build.
can let's take that one again. No,
So
take it
that
again.
when we're starting, there was the energy of we want to say no, no. It told it, Damola, see that there are lots of startups, as it were, in Nigeria, a lot of
Yeah.
noise without motion. That's not what you are out there to. That's not what I'm mentoring you to build. You have to build value. So it was a lot of work looking within, ensuring that we actually build a business, build value from within. So we had to iterate, we set out, there was a model we set out to work on, when we were starting, for the first 3, 4, 5 or 6 months, we're trying to drive the model. It wasn't, pushing and coming back to iterate, pushing, coming back to iterate, getting all of the feedbacks, trying to also grow or organically and all of that, until we were also able to discover the gap, the space. Like I said before, quite a number of some other businesses doing different product, this, that, but we're able to identify, a niche, a place where to niche ourselves and also to position ourselves strategically, which is where we are to. We're also able to find value because most importantly is what value are we giving to our customers, and in
Yeah.
doing this as well, we're able to build a model, understand what the model that works, identify the model that we're going to use to replicate, in other location. And we've seen that in doing this, having identified a particular model within a space of averagely 3 to 4 months, max 3, 4, less than 6 months, whatever new location we also get into with this same model, they are able to, pick up and, begin to thrive and do well in their own self as well. So, basically, it's been focused. First is focus on the problem, focus on finding a real need to solve for the customers. Secondly, is also to focus on, what's the bottom line, because business model is about them creating value, delivering value, and also capturing value. So how do we also capture value as well? Being able to focus on the bottom line, and that's also been very, very keyly ingrained, in every of our models as well. Next, thirdly, also is that I want to also throw this away. One of our critical success point, I say again, critical success point is the team that we have. I give it up
I
to
was going
you know
to I was going to ask that what role did your team play in this
they
achievement?
played all the
How you
role. Of
what's your
course, they played all the role. What else again would we
what's
have
your
done without it?
do you have a model you use in recruiting? What's your recruitment model? I mean, how did you get the right team? How do you get the right team so that we could all learn from you guys in terms of getting the right team in your organization?
No.
What did you
So
guys do?
for
How did you
team,
get your right
basically,
team?
for us at Pastures, we look within first. So we look from within our space. Who are the people? So we believe that we have a wide network of persons we've reached, we've interacted with. We also have, especially for everyone who are within the system, directors, the team members. So we have a very rich network of people within the industry, and one way or the other, a gap or a skill need, because when we're also looking at what is very important to us is that, especially at this stage, so we have to tell ourselves first is that we are at the building stage, and it's very sensitive that anybody also coming in must align with our values. beyond having the
Yeah.
skill needed, beyond having the necessary training, there are also specific, our corporate values are, so it must also be people
Yes.
that one way or the other, we have played together, we have done things together beyond just wanting to do pasture. So usually, you find a team member saying, I've worked with this person has this kind of value that aligns with us, this person has good corporate culture, so I would say that by God's grace, we've everyone who had worked with us, two things, either even when they're moving, though we have heard about them over 90% of the people who had ever worked with us are still with us today. For even for those who might have moved on, either they are moving on to either pursue a degree or pursue, a higher degree, a higher learning. But guess what? They are still very much committed back to pastures. There's still one project,
How did
one
you
way or the other.
how
There's
did
still
you
a way.
yeah, how do you make that commitment? How do you make what did you do to make them to be committed, even though they've gone to do their master's program? What did you do to keep them committed to the vision, even though after they've gone to do their master's program?
So, like I said, it's all starts with how did they come in. So, like I said, we first there is in pastures we're building a family. As much as if you see us working and you see us in our meeting, our meetings, our engagements are very business like. And when you also see us playing outside of work too, we also play as friends. We connect as friends very well. But so like I said, it's from the onboarding process, the recruitment process. So we tell ourselves that the value, like I said again, does this
Yes.
person's value align with our value? Does the person's thinking, his culture? So it means that one way or the other, we must be able to get a reference from a team member or someone within the circle or within the network who has worked with this person before, who has, especially at this stage, like I said, at this critical stage of building and growing. Of course, in recent time the team has started growing even beyond. There are some specific
Yeah.
skills we need to bring in, but one way or the other you see that even from the point of engaging the people and sharing what we're doing, you see that those core ingredients are still very much intricate, and everyone on the team currently has a way of listening and finding people who are aligned with our values, our vision, and and we're able to build and drive and run these things together. Something else again is that in at pastures we know how to also motivate each other, motivate our guys, check for the
Yeah.
welfare of, because
That's really
if the
key.
guys
Yeah.
are see, we if the guys are doing the job, then they must be well inspired, they must be well
Yes.
motivated. So we also ensure to watch out for these very critical. We also operate a very open system. There is no ambiguity. Everyone staff has because it's a system, it's a team, it's a family. So they have a right to have an understanding of how is the business doing, how so everyone is a business owner. It owns his space. And one of the things we also try to check out is that how can you, in fulfilling your personal vision, in or rather in driving or in pushing or in trying to push the corporate vision, how can you also fulfill your personal visions and ambitions as well? So we also look, okay, how do
Yeah.
your ambitions in the next few years, where you want to be, how does being a part of this team enhances
Yes.
that as well, also bring fulfillment to you? It's also something that is very critical for us, which we work out. And it's one of the biggest responsibility I also have, to ensure that I'm able to understand every team member. We're still very small now, so it's not we're a team of about 16 people, so it's easy to
Whoa.
connect. So so
16. I thought by now you might have scaled up to like 30 people, 50. Do you believe?
well,
Let
I'm
me let me
feeling
ask.
very
Yeah,
lean
yeah, but
as well. So
let me ask. There is an argument on social media that I've seen in recent time. There's a
okay.
there's a group of people believe um have a lean team, like very few people delivering efficiency. Like so somebody could say we might be 4 5. I won't call names. Like we are 4 5, just very lean team, and then we are doing massive stuff. Why there's other team who believe that as a CEO, your work is strategy. What I need to do is just strategize and recruit as many people to deliver the entire work. So what those teams that said we are lean, for example, Telegram, for example, let me use that. This one is big. So they believe we are lean. So the CEO get to do like 2 or 3 tasks. Other people get to do like 2 or 3 tasks, and there are just very few of them. But other ones, the CEO believe is I'm a strategy guy, so I just strategize and recruit a lot of people that delivers and make sure the whole work is going on. My own work is strategy. I mean, what's your concept about that? What do you think?
Though, so for me, I say my biggest work is to get the businesses, is to so I focus on what is while we look at it as a team to ensure we create value, create a system that everyone is able to understand, align with. I look at critically is that what brings it the revenue, what drives the growth, what are the critical factors that drive growth, what are the critical factors that drive business progress, when and that's the bottom line. What impact on our bottom line and all that. And I look at that. So number one of it is mentoring, motivating, inspiring, encouraging, challenging, training the team, especially the team leads, and then cascading it down to every other. But that's number one. Number two is also driving, customer onboarding. I tell my team, they know that I'm the lead business development officer. Although we
Yeah,
have business development officers,
yeah,
but when you
yeah,
talk of business development or marketing or sales, I'm number one on the field. I'm out, every time. In the midst of all the strategy and all I'm very critical in my sales and marketing team. I engage, with them because that's what drives, the revenue growth. If you want to talk about, let's grow our revenue, that's where revenue is. If you want to cut down costs, look at operations guys, the supply chain team, how are we sourcing, how are we delivering, how are we not wasting,
yeah,
so but critically the sales part would even help you. How are we serving our customers, how are we serving the people that we are connected to. So also it's very critical that we look at that area. So like I said, first the team sharing the vision. So one of the biggest work is vision casting. Keep the vision fresh in the mind of the people every day, every week, every now and then when we communicate. Keep the picture clear in their mind, where we're going to, what we want to do, what we want to achieve. Secondly, is also inspiring, teaching, training. I connect to my team guys, especially our business development team. For instance, let me just share, a particular. I share with them and connect with them so well that when they're on the field and there is a blocker, just a phone call and an encouragement. Like some weeks ago, one of
yeah,
my team members was really having a not so good day, and
yeah,
he just reached out that he just had this, he's really getting discouraged and all of that. And I just challenged him, gave him a word that every time there is this kind of blockers on the field, you need to be excited that something good is coming. Just be excited that something good is coming. Don't let it discourage you and all that. And just with that word, he moved from that particular place and went to a different business. And within just going to that next place, he was able to close a major deal as it were for the business, that translated in the next week. So just imagine that there was no that encouragement or that connection. He would have just gotten discouraged
yeah,
and maybe thrown away, the whole allowed the day to affect him. So it's very key to see that we have this going. Everybody, the team morale is high, the team spirit is high, everyone is energized, everyone, and now and then. So it's see,
wow, yeah,
our tempo is always very high. You can't come and meet us having a not. So we're always in that high spirit to drive things because we know what value we're offering, we know what and where we don't compromise on our standard, we don't compromise. We say what we do, and we do what we say. So that's also very key and critical for us.
But let me ask quickly. Now you've been able to scale to like two states in Nigeria. Are they key partnership either with farmers, tech companies, logistic providers that have significantly contribute to the success of pasture in food distribution model? Are there partnerships like with could be with technical companies or logistic companies that you've partnered with or government? So to say, let me know. And if yes, how do you be
So,
able to,
so our
identify
partnership,
the right partnership?
yes, our partnership have primarily been with the whether it's small or big, basically the private space. So number one partnership is ensuring our suppliers. So it's a key partnership whereby we ensure, because the first thing is that we must ensure that we have produce consistently. Then the other partnership again is also that the pipeline, we ensure that there is a consistent supply, and there's also a consistent demand, the businesses that we serve. So we have structured arrangement with quite a number of the businesses we serve, both in the fact that we are in 4 states, but we serve multiple states. Like one of our Port Harcourt office serve both Bayelsa, Uyo, and
Mm,
sometimes Owerri. There are businesses in these places, but our Port Harcourt office. So basically, we just say our Port Harcourt office as a south, southeast. Managing
yeah.
that. You understand? Yeah. So that's supply part, partnering with greenhouses, direct farmers as well. We also have a base, where we aggregate from, primarily to perishable outlets, in two of the biggest states. You talk about Jos, you talk about Zaria, Kanu, Zaria, for all of these high exotic vegetables, and some other part of the north. So we also have a very strong presence for our the farmers and all that we partner with. We also are beginning to build partnership along the line of course, our transport system. Besides, I was reading an article of late saying that for to be able to transport the volume of vegetables needed in Nigeria, we need about 22 climate control trucks, 22 climate control trucks of about 10 to 20 tons, But currently we have about, is it 1 to 5,000 in Nigeria. So you can see the gap. So even we having, as we're not even able to serve. So we have to
The,
find ways to, partner with, other private companies who run this system, and to be able to serve the businesses that we serve. Also partnering with them, in the different major markets as well, and people who run all of the climate controlled storage systems. So within this supply chain, there is a lot of partnership, a lot of collaboration, a lot of a lot of partnership and collaboration to leverage and engage in, especially with the kind of environment we also find ourselves. You must also partner with the
yeah.
guys on the road as well, the tax forces, the government people. You must ensure that you build a very solid
So
relationship with them.
what's given the challenges, given the infrastructural challenges, let's say the part where you guys operate in Nigeria, how has Pastor been able to manage and navigate? Have you been able to manage to navigate and overcome the logistic barrier in food distribution? I know there are a lot of barriers in that sort of
So the
place. How have you
first
been able
thing
to navigate it?
is
Given
so the first thing is
this,
the first thing is tenacity. You need to build a
yeah,
tough skin. Sometimes your goods, like I remember early days when we started in the process of trying to, of course, cut on cost of transportation. You partner with shared trucks or shared systems, and you just hear that as you're coming, the truck fell, the this one, maybe there was a spoilage on the road. So basically, is that you need to assess your risk, and find the least risk, and while you also look at so the transport thing is one that is very very challenging. You have bad roads, you have insecurity on the road, you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
all the challenges, but even sometimes goods are not even able to come in on particular days because there is a protest, or there is blockage of road in some part of the state. So you have to, when your goods are on the road, you have to keep monitoring, and then you have to ensure that you have an efficient way of understanding the terrain, understanding the network, have transport team and drivers who understand and know all of these routes very well, and also find the least risky process or system. So you need to find a lot of ways to de-risk. For instance, if it's going to cost you extra to use a if your goods are not so bulky as it were, you can de-risk, spend a little more to ensure that you move with a shorter vehicle that would, so the risk of spoilage or falling on the road based on bad road, and your goods can move faster. So you just find all of these. So you need to do all of the analysis, look at all the options that are available, and pick what works best for you, what makes you efficient. Well, because once you have committed to serving your customers, you have no choice. You must ensure that you make their produce available for them as at when you have committed to do that. So part of also the de-risking is also to have a structured supply system. So for every of our businesses, we know when to supply. We also have an idea of what are their needs, what based on, we're able to use our data to also be able to analyze and forecast what are their needs, when do they, and all that, and make decisions, appropriate decisions in good time, and create a good communication system. Another thing again, in supply chain, that we operate in, effective communication, efficient communication. When you know that you've done everything that is out of your control as well, and there are specific produce that may not be available for one reason or the other, you must communicate efficient, communicate in time, to your businesses as well. So you need to keep the communication, loop very, very tight and solid.
Hmm. But my next question is, what processes or system does pastor has put in place to ensure consistent quality of farm produce from the point of harvest to the point of sales? What is the system or process you put in place?
So it's quality
Emphasis
control.
on
You
because
must
yes. No. How do you
okay.
make sure that it's consistent fresh food?
So
So
consistent fresh. Can you hear me, please? I don't know.
yes.
Okay. So
Yeah, I
consistent
hear you. So
fresh
I said my
produce
question is,
starts from
did you get the
sourcing.
question?
Yeah, yeah. How do
Mm-hmm.
we ensure? If I hear you well, I think your question is how do we ensure consistent
No, no,
fresh?
what I
How do
mean is the
we?
process. What process or system you've put in place in your
Okay.
organization to ensure that there is consistent quality of farm produce from the point of harvest to the point of sales. There's constant, so customers are constantly getting consistent quality food production, fresh food. What system? Because I understand fresh food, to produce fresh food in Nigeria could be a bit tough.
Yes. So you mean it's fresh, or quality is starts
Yes.
from the source. So
Okay.
once you miss it at the source, then what else? It's already you cannot you cannot miss securing fresh produce from source and expect that one way or the other along the way as you go, it will just get good, and so first is you start from point of source, from point of sourcing. So the onboarding of so we take a lot of critical it's very critical for us to evaluate the kind of partners, especially for our supply, our farmers that we partner with, and all of the other, greeners. We do a lot of so ensuring that we secure reliable, supplies and all that. So our quality control team also ensure that at different points in time they evaluate and they source, and and they're also able to separate quality goods as when needed. So from point of supply, and when it moves to the next point, the warehousing sourcing is also done, and even at the point of delivery to customers as well, a lot of sourcing is also done as well. So basically, our quality control team ensure to monitor produce at different steps, at different points, in time, to ensure that the right quality is also delivered. We also, part of the process we also do is we also try to emphasize quality. We try to teach and train and do education also for even the
Okay.
farmers and all of those guys who serve us as well. Handling is also something that is very key. In all genuineness, they may have invested there, but how do they handle? How do they package? How do they put this thing in place? So that's also very important for us to emphasize and work with them on as well. And then in the place of transportation as well, the transport system, what kind of transportation is being used, how is it being brought in, so at every point in time is to ensure that right tool, the most efficient tool that will keep produce fresh is being used at time, to ensure that we have quality produce being delivered to customers.
Well, thank you very much for that. Well, let me ask, what's been your biggest challenges you only passed in the last 3 years?
In the last
3 years, what's been your biggest challenges you faced?
hmm one of course there've been a couple of challenges, but one of the biggest challenges is usually seasonality issues. During seasonality
Yeah.
issues, we don't nobody none of the team members sleeps. Everybody is on their toes, working to ensure that at that point we are ramping up, because we don't and good surprising is ensuring that we get produce at the right price, at the right quality, because at that period, because of that also, maybe some customers they prefer this size, your product must be in this size, and because of the current issues you have only this size. So a lot of relationship management, communication, sourcing. So those periods are very challenging period, and the key thing is communication. And because of course customers also know that we're a brand, we have a lot to, so sometimes also there's that pressure. Oh, Pastures, you guys have to, and we ensure that we're able to serve them adequately in and out. But those periods are one of some of the toughest times. Yeah, that's number one. Also, the challenge of security and road network, also the infrastructural issues have also been challenging in recent times, with the cost of fueling, is it tripling, quadrupling, or even quadrupling in the last 1 or 1 year and a half? We have moved from about 100 and something naira to over 1,000, thereabout, of fueling or this. So it's been really a a tough one. Manage. So we've seen cost of transport. So in recent times, some of the, like, there was already the estimation that, oh, after a particular season, goods were naturally, cost of production was naturally supposed to come down. But as we're leaving, as we're trying to exit that season, then there was a fueling issue, and prices jumped back
Yeah.
up again, and we've just been trying to. We've been working on managing all of the seasonality issues and infrastructural challenges, and all of the other blockers within the macroeconomic system that poses challenge on business operations, especially in Nigeria.
Okay. Let me ask: have you been able to fund um, Pasture so far? Have you been able to push for fundings on the on the? Have you been able to source of funds? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people come to this podcast. One of the key things a lot of people are waiting for is funding. How have you been able to fund?
Okay, so I will say that I would say one way or the other, Pastures is though all of the people behind Pastures may not necessarily be blood related, but I can say that it's like a family business as it were. So we had also told ourselves that we wanted to build to a point before we now open up. We wanted to build and ensure that we're able to build a system that is also um, you know very profitable. We were not just in the rush of building to just raise funds as it was. So we're wanting to build a system, build a process, ensure that we have something very solid, which we've worked on over the past few years, and be able to grow organically. Like I was sharing with someone, some of the this year, some or one or two of the state city expansion we had was from within. We didn't have to even raise additional funding. We grew from within. So but we so like I would say,
So,
we can
so
say
sorry when you
we're
say when
okay,
you
go
say
ahead.
within, does it mean that with the capital you guys have from your profits from your revenue so far, you're able to expand, or do you mean within
Yes.
an investor
Yes. So
within
from
invested again?
No, no. So of course, in the initial phase, in the first 2 years, we've had a couple of investment from within as well, like bootstrapping from the directors and the investors within. And when we're going to do the last two expansions, which were the most costly ones, towards the end of this from mid this year, towards the end of this year, we did that from profits, not from external or new
Mm,
funding injection. That's
yeah.
one. So but of course we did that with there is also knowing that we're going to have to begin to look at raising major fundings towards mid to end of next year. So we are trying to build internally in the last few years, and we're beginning to see the potential or the possibility to open up also to maybe new investment opportunity, looking at the things that we're looking at building in the nearest future as well.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, that's really amazing for you to have built a business for 3 years and in place of expansion, you're not looking for funding. So for me, I say what I used to say to people is two ways you can get funding: is through sales or through investment, through investors. So you guys have built from within and I've been able to expand. That's with you've done a lot of groundwork already. That's really amazing. But let me ask, um, what are the system or structure, somebody who's listening, what are the first two, three things somebody who's watching this program who wants to go into the food distribution logistics storage space like you, what should be the like first two, three things they should consider doing first before venturing into the business or venturing into something like this? Yeah, what should they be considering?
Number one is of course, number one is market. Well, number one is
Okay.
market, product, business model. So, what are you? What product do you want to? What's the need? What's the problem you're solving? You want to solve. So, what market are you looking at? The market is, in the even the agri produce supply chain or agri supply chain. They are It's a huge space, a lot of different dynamics, different space. The supply chain for palm oil is different from the supply chain for cashew nut, from the supply. So you need to understand what produce, do you are you looking at? Are you looking at a multiple of variety? Like many people will always start with, a multiple of one before they now find, okay, which one do they have a good market for? That as well. Number two is also that what value, what's your unique, value proposition? It's not just, oh, we're just selling this. You find quite a number of people. What's that unique value? What's the that you are offering, to the market? What's unique? What's different about you? So you need to find that market as well. So is there a market for this problem? How big is the market? How big is the problem you're also trying to solve? Then how do you also, what's the business model that you want to use to solve this problem or capture, deliver and capture value within this space? So if you can have that loop properly looked at, you have the product, which is the supply part, you have the demand, which is the market part, and you have the model on which you want to move the supply to the demand and then get value back to yourself as well.
Great, amazing. What's your 10 years vision for Pasture? 10 years vision. If we were to interview you again or invite you to our podcast in the next 10 years, what do you want to see from that at that time? That we should look back and 10 years ago when we interviewed you, you said this and that. So, what's your 10 years vision for Pasture?
So 10 years vision is pastures to be a leading supply chain produce from Africa globally. So not just within Nigeria, yes, capturing within Nigeria, and of course expanding to other African countries, being able to provide efficient supply chain in other African countries, and also African produce to the global market as well, creating efficient supply chain, especially for cold climate controlled produce, to the global space from Africa.
Great, amazing. So that means you're considering expansion already, like expanding to the, like exporting. That's the
Of
right
course,
word.
we're already beginning to
Considering
look at
exporting already.
yes, 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 yes. We're already looking at all of that critically, exporting both from Nigeria and also gaining entrance presence in other African countries, and being able to, drive same value, and also serving the local market. And so two things is we'll serve the local market and also serve the international market as well.
Okay, amazing. Um, my last question. This will be like most likely is what's your advice for other agri-tech startups who are coming to the space, want to disrupt the space with their innovations, with their ideas? What's your advice for them? Critical advice that they should really pay attention to before
Okay,
before coming
while
in with their crazy ideas and disrupt.
so the African agri space needs quite a number of innovators, disruptors, and
Yeah.
we need a critical mass, to create value both from however we want to do it, both from the supply chain and to the processing and to the distribution, and and back again. At some point we'll need to now begin to rethink how we do our primary farming. That's also a critical place as well, to also look at. But while doing all of these, one of the things first is that this space is a long run. It's not a marathon. It's a sprint. Sorry, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. We've seen quite a number of agri. Every now and then, you'll be shocked that one of some of the businesses that closes shop fastest actually is usually within the tech space is agri tech. the businesses that closes shop fast. One of the
Yeah.
ones, you see agritechs, quite a number of agritech startups, they do crowdfunding. Because even agritech that do, most crowdfunding, people come in and next few months, they
Crowdfunding.
promise
Yes. Yes.
a
Yes.
lot of, they'll give a lot of promises. Oh, we're going to give you so return in this month, so return in that, and just the whole buzz on just because I have, technology is a tool, is not the business. It's especially within the agri space, there is the core of the business. So understand that while we are leveraging on technology to, to improve on efficiency within the space, it's also very important and critical for you to understand the business that you're trying to use technology to scale or to, leverage. That's one. So that leads also to focusing on the bottom line. In what's the bottom line,
Yeah.
what's, what are your cost elements, what are your revenue generating elements, how are you, increasing value and keeping value within the system, how are you not burning out, how are you, what's understanding all of the necessary financial positioning of the business, because the key thing is that we must build businesses that are sustainable, because no matter how the funding being raised, if you don't begin to think of sustainability of the business even before you burn out of cash,
Yeah.
it's going to it can be really be quite discouraging and challenging, after you've raised a lot of you know put a lot of, but we understand that, oh, really there could be real challenges, real genuine, challenges and all of that that could maybe government, initiative or issues that you didn't foresee, and then probably not having enough tenacity and guts to stay in and pushing. There could be those real challenges that come, but beyond that, let's ensure that we have a mindset of long run. Let's build, for within the agri space, it has to be a long run building. That's number one. Also knowing that, at some point necessary support, as some other tech spaces are may have been more developed than this space, or they may be having more support than, than within the agri space. Well, that's why I appreciate people like, what Kenneth is doing, driving the awareness within the agri tech space, and what we do with agri tech digest. And so we begin to see value being driven to the industry. So let's understand that it's for the long run. That's one. Number two also is that you must also look at critically the bottom line, and be able to ensure that you keep creating value for the business, the customers, the investors, and everyone within, that the business is also connected to.
Before we go, you've dwelled on bottom line. You've mentioned the bottom line a lot. And I think it's really important people focus on the bottom line, because a lot of times, like you said in long, sometime some few minutes ago, that a lot of people just make noise, so much noise, and they don't really consider the bottom line. So I really want you to define what do you mean by the bottom line, so people will understand the key place they should focus on when you be talking about bottom line. So what do you really mean by focus on the bottom line? What do you mean by focus on bottom line? Yes. Or define your bottom line to us, so we'll know where to focus on.
Okay, so we know that every business, especially if it's even not for profit, business, there must be specific defined parameters. So you must be able to understand what your sales indices are, your where are your major sales drivers, what are your cost drivers, how do you maximize every resource that you have. You don't just spend because you have the funds or you have the capital. There is always that temptation, as especially at startup, once you have raised whether your initial startup capital or an investment or whatever, there is always the pressure and the temptation to even when you even start making small success. So let's not be quick to let's not be too quick to rewarding. Delayed gratification is also important to imbibe. Don't be too quick
Yeah.
to, oh, we just made one big hit or one big, and the next thing you want to start over rewarding yourself and all that. So you must build for the long run. You must build for the growth and the sustainability of the business. You must build for the tough time. Tough times will always come in business. Tough times would always come, challenging moments. There will always be those seasons whereby. So the question is that how well are you able to have conserved value? It's the value you have kept and created and built within the system that will pull the business through those challenging times. So that's why in focusing on the bottom line, you're able to understand where your cost element, where are your revenue generating element. So ensure you've cut out things that are not. Also check out things that you are spending on and are not generating. you know uh okay, so find things that
No, go ahead.
you
Go ahead. Yes. Yes.
no look for
Go ahead.
find things that you are spending on. Yes, I know the temptation of, some people tell this thing has a future value. There is there is a future. I understand that there's a future value, but the one that is bringing the value now, spend more on it now. When that one starts generating well, then you can now begin to invest in the future. Not that you will spend
Kai.
more, you will invest more for the future value and starve what is going to survive the business. If the business does not live for the future, so what are you investing for? So you,
Uh,
you
uh,
need to be very careful to understand what is driving my revenue currently. So you
yeah.
must. I know that this is the future, this is where the business is going to, but as at today, what is keeping the business going, what's surviving the business? So put a lot of effort there, and gradually you can now begin to even out. Maybe currently that present maybe 90% and the future is 10%. You can now begin to grow from 10%, you grow the future to 12%, you grow to 15%, you grow it to 34. You gradually now move into but whatever it is that is driving our revenue in the meantime, ensure you invest energy and push that to continue to create value, so that if you start what is generating, what's giving you revenue now, and you continue to feed the future, then you will not have, when the future comes, you won't even get to the future. So
uh,
that's very important to know.
comes just would
Understand
have
your
died.
cost, understand your revenue, understand your
Yeah.
all of the indices, what number, understand your numbers, and stay on top of it, know it regularly. Then in creating value as well, understand your margins. You need to just put your
Yeah.
face on that. When you serve a business or when you do a business, your cost of delivering that value versus the cost, the revenue you generated, does it make sense? Find a way
Yeah.
quickly for your business. One of your, in fact, in business, your first goal is not to make profit. Your first goal first is to make sure that the business can take care of itself. So
Yeah.
just until you achieve that, I'm not saying make profit. No, don't. Your first target is that let the business activity, all are running up and down, everything, let it be able to pay for his overhead, pay your staff, you don't need extra funding, you don't need to burn your working capital or and all of that to meet your operational overhead. Let the business be able to sustain itself. Once you have achieved that, that's the first, that's the
Kai.
first brief. Now we can now pay our bills. The business can now run itself
Yeah.
sustainably. That's when you have now started entering business. But if you are still every time you want to pay salaries, you want to pay, or you now go and meet, are begging, you go and dip your hand into your working capital, you go and dip your, you need to go and raise revenue from, investors to pay salaries and all that. You're not yet in business. So you now receive maybe a huge sum, $1 million or whatever. I say, that money is not your money. Every money comes with a cost. So
Yes, people don't understand that part. A lot have been said. A lot of people they don't understand about that part. You see, guys, the importance when we talk about focus on the bottom part, it's a bit really deep. That's why it took a lot of time to explain what it means. It's been a pleasure to have you this evening. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the wisdom you shared with us this evening. Thank you very much. I believe our audience have been blessed. So, guys, wherever you are watching from, do it to share this podcast. Do it to subscribe. If you are watching on YouTube, do it to drop your comments. If you are watching on Spotify, me or Amazon, wherever you are watching for, do it to um, drop your feedback for us. Thank you all for joining us this evening. It's been an amazing time to have you. Once again, it's your show, Architect Founders Diary. Till come your way again next week. See you all, and from us, bye bye.
all right, thank you. Bye. Yeah.
Right, bye, bye everyone.